Hi everyone, thanks for the opportunity to send this message. Something I've reflected on many times over the past years is just how enormous the challenge of COVID has been. Crises can be big and small, but with COVID, every single person in our community has been affected, including so many people who are already vulnerable. And that means our response had to draw on every resource and every person to do their bit. From a government perspective, there is a lot that we've been able to do to help people get through. But there is no way that we can do it all. And I've been in awe of the efforts of so many people in the community services sector because you've stepped up, gone above and beyond when the people of New South Wales needed you most. In homeless shelters, domestic violence services, neighbourhood and multicultural centres, you've supported our older citizens, people who rely on disability support, and so many others. So often this has been life-saving work, and so often it goes on without the recognition that you deserve. So on behalf of the government and everyone in New South Wales, I want to say thank you. I know that your resources have been stretched to their limits, and that's why we've stepped in to provide support. But I know that the crisis isn't over, and even when it is, there'll be so much more work to do. So thank you again for all your efforts. I hope you get some time for a hard-earned rest, and I look forward to working with you to help the people of New South Wales get back on their feet and then get back on with the job of building a brighter future for everyone in New South Wales.
G'day, Chris Miggs here, New South Wales Labor leader. Wanted to give a big shout out to all the frontline workers who've worked so hard keeping our community safe during what's been a very difficult 3 months, in fact a difficult 2 years. Those that work in aged care, disability services, community organisations, you've kept us safe during this difficult period. We owe you a big thank you, and I hope you have a happy run up to Christmas.
Hi, Alistair Henskins, the New South Wales Minister for Families, Communities and Disability Services. I want to give a big thank you to our social services sector for all the outstanding work that you've been doing in recent times. Since I've been the Minister, I've been able to see your work up close, and I'm full of admiration for the way in which you protect the most vulnerable members of our community. In the last few weeks, as I've been able to get out in our community, it's been outstanding to get more knowledge about the way in which you go about your important work. Can I thank you again and say it's really important that you look after yourselves as well as our most vulnerable, and I look forward to spending more time with you in the coming weeks and months.
Hi, I'm Kate Washington. I'm the Shadow Minister for Families and Community Services. Alongside my Labor colleagues, I just want to say a huge thank you. Thank you for all your hard work during this most difficult of times. We know that the families and communities that you were supporting right across New South Wales were the hardest hit by COVID. We know that your work has really ramped up during this time and that you have stepped up remarkably. So on behalf of me and my Labor colleagues, we want to say thank you and also hope that you take some time out, rest and spend time with your loved ones over this Christmas.
As New South Wales emerges from the challenges of the recent COVID-19 outbreak, I want to say a huge thank you to all of our wonderful frontline social service workers. Throughout the public health response, you have shown remarkable strength and kindness, from providing safety and shelter for people experiencing homelessness and domestic abuse, to supporting people with disabilities and chronic health conditions. You have worked tirelessly to protect our community's most vulnerable and disadvantaged. I'd also like to thank you for your incredible efforts in helping so many vulnerable people across New South Wales access COVID-19 vaccines. I hope you can look back on this challenging time in all our lives and see what a difference our hard work has made and how many people you have helped.
Hello, Shane Fitzsimmons here, Commissioner Resilience New South Wales. Can I just lend a big shout out to all our volunteers and charity organisations that have been on the front line and behind the scenes, caring and supporting and protecting some of our most vulnerable and needy in these very, very difficult times, whether it's drought, bushfires, storms and floods, COVID, or the compounding effect of all of the above. Whether you're connecting with people in domestic violence situations or women's shelters, right through to financial counselling, care for family support, aged and disability services, it doesn't matter. The thread that holds these communities together is volunteers and charities working together, working for each other, and in your case, looking after some of the most susceptible, the most vulnerable, and the most needy. My sincere thanks, and the thanks of all communities right across this great state, for the extraordinary work that you do so selflessly, so importantly, but for the want of nothing in return but to make a positive and meaningful difference in our communities far and wide. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's the end of yet another extraordinary year. As if bushfire, flood and drought weren't enough, the pandemic has drawn on all of our resources. Those who were vulnerable became even more vulnerable, and they were joined by others who don't normally rely on our services. Throughout all of this, those who deliver our services were able to find ways to house the homeless, feed the hungry, comfort the scared, and walk alongside everyone in a COVID-safe way. You have managed to make sure that our services continue throughout this pandemic, and for that, I say thank you.
Hello, Kindergay, which is welcoming from my country, the Gambia lands of the North Coast. My name is June Reamer, and I am Deputy CEO of First Peoples Disability Network Australia. I would like to thank all the sector for their tenacity and strength over this last year in supporting our people with disability. I was honoured to be named New South Wales Aboriginal Woman of the Year, and with this honour comes the passion that we need to support those most vulnerable in our communities. Keep up the good work, and thank you very much.
It is truly wonderful, but not surprising, how our sector has stepped up during the challenging year we've all been through. New South Wales frontline workers have remained dedicated, professional, and often courageous in their attention and care for the most vulnerable members of our community. As well as those on humanitarian visas, SSI works with a wide group of culturally and linguistically diverse communities, children and families, people living with disability, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, and the sex and gender diverse community. During Sydney's second lockdown, we were able to adapt, continue to deliver services, digital literacy, homeschooling, vaccination hubs and care packages, in addition to employment programs, community engagement and advocacy on domestic and family violence. To social services organisations across the state supporting people through these tough times, and to businesses and community members coming together and donating to initiatives that keep our society strong and inclusive, I say a very sincere thank you.